Today I'm talking about The Birth of Malice, which is the 16th studio album by Destruction, released on March 7, 2025 through Napalm Records. So let me ask the question, can they still thrash? They are a German thrash metal band, part of the big four of German thrash with Kreator, Sodom, Tankard, and they released a few albums in the late 80s. And then when the 90s came along, they went through a period that the band probably wants to forget. They refer to it as the neo-destruction period, and they released a series of bad albums and EPs, and they sounded like groove metal. But they made a comeback in 2001 with an album called The Antichrist, and since then they've been releasing albums fairly consistently. The previous album was called Diabolical. That was released on April of 2022. I reviewed that on my channel. I remember it was a solid album, and this band pretty much gives you what you expect. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel, and all their albums are straightforward, fast-paced thrash metal with lots of riffs, lots of galloping harsh vocals, and everything you would expect from a thrash metal band. So I'm going to do this a little differently because otherwise I'm just going to be putting out the same review as the other metal channels. I'll talk about the singles, their respective music videos, and then I'll talk about the other tracks. And I'm going to mention the ones that stand out from the crowd. So the first single was Fast as a Shark, released on July 10th, 2024. Cover song, originally by the band A.N.G.S.T, that I believe came out in 1982. Considered to be one of the first thrash metal songs, but that's debatable. But despite this, it's a very faithful cover to the original. They might have turned up the speed a little bit, made it a little heavier, but I thought it was kind of strange for them to choose a cover song for their first single, just because people might want to hear something original, but otherwise I have no complaints. Sounds a lot like the original. They did a good job on it. As for the music video, it's a lyric video, lots of graphics and various lyrics that pop up on the screen. The next single was No Kings, No Masters. This was released on July 10th, 2024. This was the first original song they released as a single. They probably should have made this the lead single. Basically, the song is filled with guitar riffs. It's a sound like old school thrash. The music video shows a performance where it looks like they're playing in front of a green screen, and they show all these images of corruption and police forces with shields and things like that. It's very old school and filled with guitar riffs, so it's a good song. Next single was called Destruction. That was released on 14 November 2024. And I'm going to say the same thing that Necrotic Nick said in his review for the Thralls of Metal channel when they reviewed this album. I thought it was strange that the band took 40 years to write a self-titled song. But despite that, still pretty good. Lots of chugging, lots of riffs. The music video shows a live performance. And when you watch the video, it's like you see the crowd getting into the song. So it's a pretty cool thrasher. Next single is called A.N.G.S.T or A.N.G.S.T as an acronym, which I will address in a minute. Released on January 23rd, 2025. Out of all the singles, this one sounds a little different because it has this bass and drum intro with the sustained power chords, and it takes about 30 seconds before it starts taking off. It's one of the more mid-paced songs. So I like the fact that this one stands out from the others. They're showing us that not everything has to be super fast-paced. This one also has some vocals in the lower range, so I thought it was pretty cool. There's a really cool part in the middle where they go into double time, and they have another one of those music videos where it looks like they're playing in front of a green screen with all these apocalyptic scenes in the background and people dying and things like that. And I'm reading the lyrics trying to figure out what angst means because it's written as an acronym, but I couldn't figure it out. So I don't know why they did it. If you know, let us know and comment below. I didn't even plan to do that rhyme. It just came out like that. That's not even like scripted or nothing. But anyway, continuing. The last single was Scumbag Human Race, released on February 20th, 2025. Just some straightforward, fast-paced thrash metal with chugging riffs and fast drum beats. The music video shows some kind of weird Medusa woman dancing behind the band. And of course, the lyrics are very political, talking about state of the world and corruption and all that, everything you would expect from a thrash metal band. So now that we talked about the singles, let's talk about the album tracks. There are still 7 tracks that were not released prior to the release of the album, so let's talk about them. First one is just an intro track called Birth of Malice. It's about a minute long. I don't have anything to comment on it, so let me jump to the next track. First album cut is called Cyber Warfare, and another one which had a different type of intro. It's just bass and guitar, goes into the lead guitar solo, and you hear sound clips of a news report talking about a cyber attack. As for the lyrics, not talking about anything different than other bands talk about. It's about cyber attacks, so I'm sure they're not the first band to write a song about that. But otherwise, it's a good thrash metal song. Nothing unique about it, just pretty good. Next album cut is called God of Gore, and the first few seconds reminds me of Metallica's Master of Puppets, but otherwise it's more thrash, very fast-paced, lots of riffs, lots of those D beats. And that's another word I learned watching Thralls of Metal. I know they always mention that term, and I never knew what it was, but today I decided to look it up and watch a quick YouTube video on what is a D beat, and now I know, and now I can use that in my videos. But anyway, the song is something fairly unique because there's a bridge that goes into this funky bass part and this melodic section into a part where they shift gears, so it's pretty cool. After this is an album cut called Dealer of Death, another track that stands out amongst the others because it has a slow intro, goes into more of a crossover thrash type of sound. I thought it was pretty cool. It's filled with lots of riffs and also one of the more mid-paced songs. After this is a track, Evil Never Sleeps, and it's another one that's more of that thrash. There's anything unique about it, it probably has more of those evil sounding vocals. Probably another one that's more of a mid-paced thrash metal song. Also the chorus was different. Seems like they're singing more of a heavy metal style, so that's pretty cool. The second to last song I want to talk about is Chains of Sorrow. And this has actual chains rumbling in the background if you listen closely, but otherwise more of the same type of thrash metal, lots of riffs, lots of heaviness. Another thing I want to say about the guitar solo reminded me of something Kirk Hammett would play, so I wanted to throw that out there. Then there's one more album cut I'm going to talk about called Greed, and out of all the songs, I think this has the best drumming. It has this cool drum intro, lots of different drum patterns throughout the song. Otherwise, it kind of sounds like a Bay Area thrash type of band. I thought of the band Testament, something like that. Conclusion, can they still thrash? Yes, they can. Is it a solid thrash metal album? Yes, it is. Is it the best thrash metal album of the year? Probably not. It might make a top 10 if I do a thrash video at the end of the year, but I would say I've heard a few other better thrash albums so far this year. For example, the previous album, Volume 6 by Sacrifice, was better than this, but otherwise, it's just good. My score is 7.5 out of 10. It's what you would expect from the band. That's all. Please check out my review of the previous album called Diabolical from 2022. Thanks for watching. Please like the video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you have not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.